Hi guys, I'm live. How you guys doing? I just wanted to do some updates and stuff. Thanks for listening if you are. Appreciate it. Um, Updates. First of all, I got like 10 to 11 hours sleep last night. I just really must have needed the sleep. Get ready for spring, and I guess I slept off the long, cold winter. That's an album by Cinderella. I had to sleep it off. I couldn't just wake up and go, oh gosh, I had something I had to hibernate again. Just be ready for. I think I got it in my bones now that it's spring. At least I'm working on it if I haven't. So that's why I didn't do a video until later. Hope you guys enjoyed it though. I had a lot of energy. I did a video. Anyway, update. First background. For those of you who don't know, I've actually 7 times in my life, and I did an edible. This was the 8th time. That's all the pot I've ever done. I've had cigarettes in my whole life. And I've drinking maybe a couple of bottles worth of champagne in my whole life. Other than that, no drugs, alcohol, or but on that 8th time I did the edible, on the edible I did, I actually got, because of that edible, I got my head around, Third Stone from the Sun by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And I'm convinced I wouldn't have gotten my head around it without that. And when I came down, I still had that, I still remembered I still had my head around. But today I made a thing, not on drugs, but today. But I got my head around Are You Experience, which is my second favorite Jimi Hendrix song. The first favorite is Third Stone from the Sun. I got my head around the title track is like the 11th song on the first album. And I got my head around that final song. And a lot of it had to do with the solo. The solo was actually backwards and then played. It's recorded one way and then played backwards for the actual album take. And that's a lot to get my head around. But I get the concept, and I'd like, if I were ever in a studio or whatever, I'd like to try that myself on some solos or any solo. That's a very unique approach. I was told that Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach was able to do that kind of thing. He could hear melodies backwards, he could hear them inverted, and he could even probably hear them inverted and backwards. Those are the 4 possibilities. You can play the original melody, you can play the original melody backwards, you can invert the original melody, or you can invert the melody and then play that backwards. So that's a 4th possibility. Goes back to serial composition and atonality. 12-tone music uses these concepts because when you play a 12-tone row, you don't want to be able to play just one way. You want to play all those all 4 possible ways. And then not only that, you can start the melody on any note you want. So that gives you actually gives you 48 ways of playing the original row, because you can transpose the original to any of the 12 notes to start on, and then you can do that same thing to all the other 3 possible variations of it. So you get 48, which is 12 times 4 possible ways of playing any given row. But that doesn't have to just be for atonal music. It can also be for music in general. And so I got my head around that today, finally. My head around experience. So that little update. And then I also I got another little breakthrough the other day. I realized that I really can learn and play songs. That was one of my goals like 10 years ago. I decided that I was going to learn rhythm theory and learn to play songs, or I was going to quit guitar. Well, I learned rhythm theory. I was confident of that, maybe even years ago, but I wasn't really confident that I could learn to play songs. But I am now. It was the final one. The final ones I've been doing lately, like D from Randy Rhoads and Light Up the Sky from Van Halen. It just clicked. I'm able to write and play songs, that's a cool milestone as well, So that's what I made recently, and then it's sinking into me that I've actually the mastering alternate picking thing that sank into me a few days ago, and I've been chewing on mentally. is cool too, because what it leads to, funny enough, is realizing that it's not that important. Once you accept that you know something and you've mastered something, you go on. You do other things. You don't just stay at the thing that you've already mastered forever. You do other things. And I think I'm starting to look around figuratively in my mind's eye as far as music and guitar for other things to think about besides mastering off and picking, because I'm getting more convinced that I already have. So that's a good thing. It's like Ronnie James Dio's lyric in Heaven and Hell, the ending is just the beginning. You end something, it's just a sign that something else is beginning, you know. So that's cool. So there's that little tidbit. And I like the playing the violin scales thing I just started doing. I like that. You know, it feels and sounds good on the guitar to me. It has a different sound and a different feel than violin force, which is a traditional positional tone, or even playing it on one string, which is different because you're not doing that either. You're playing on all strings, which you're playing in fifths instead of fourths. So for pentatonic scales, you have 3 notes per string instead of 2, and for diatonic scales, you have 4 notes per string instead of 3. So it's a different feel, it's a different vibe, and it's a different sound, and I like that sound. You know, there's a reason to me, at least, why violins and violas and mandolins and mandolas were tuned in fifths, because it's a very logical way of tuning. It's just that in the guitar, people didn't want to have to stretch their hands that far and use all the 4 fingers that you have to use more of. But the way the guitar is tuned is cool. But I don't mind stretching my fingers, and I don't mind using the 4th finger. And there's always ways around if you don't feel like stretching or don't feel up to stretching that far. There's still sliding and all kinds of cool things you can do, tapping, to make up if you don't feel like stretching at the moment. So I like the new those kind of scales. I'm getting my head more around those too. You know, they're different things. They're the same scales, but they're fingered differently, and the patterns are different, and it's just different things to get your head around physically on the instrument as far as visualizing it and executing it. So there's that. Plus, I met a possible drummer that I might be drumming with. I think his name was Rich Hobbs. I might have that's what I remember. I know it's Rich. I think it's Hobbs. He's a physical trainer. He's a trainer. He's got his licensed trainer, and he met me at the Winco and said he would like to jam with me whenever he gets his drums out of storage. We might jam together, and I could always record that on my channel. So that's cool. Rich Hobbs, I think his last name is. That'd be cool, you know. Just have the phone sitting there recording us. You know, that'd be cool. I like it. If you know, whenever he's ready, whenever he gets his drums out of storage. And I'm already writing. I have 3 songs that I've already written for the next session with the moderator that I've already written, which are etheric tremors, Rain Check Suicide, and Bourgeoisie. But it's been so long since we recorded, I'm already writing a 4th one, and it might even be the coolest one. It might even be the one we end up actually playing when he gets over here, or whatever that is. I'm working on it right now, and it's really cool. I think it's good. I think that it might even be better than the other 3. It might even be the one that we actually end up doing when he gets here. We'll see, because it's got, you know, I'm becoming a better songwriter, and I'm becoming a better artist and musician, you know. And I feel like saying, not that I'm saying I'm this guy, but Eddie Van Halen said when he was doing the 1984 album with Van Halen, he said he got to a point where he said he doesn't think he's going to get any faster at guitar. He's just going to get weirder and see what happens. Well, he didn't really end up getting weirder, but I like the sentiment he had. I don't know that I'm really ever going to play any faster than I already do, but I can do more with it. I can make it weirder. I can be a better artist, a better musician with the speed I already do have. Not that I'm trying to get more speed. I don't know that I'll ever be faster than I am right this second. But that doesn't mean I'm stopping growing. You know, there's lots besides speed in music. I mean, if it were just speed, all you really have to do is just play a fast up computer thing, and it would be good enough. Computers can play fast notes, and you can even play notes and have it put it at quadruple speed. But that's not the only point. Speed isn't just the only thing to work on as a musician and artist. So I have that. I'm having fun. I'm thinking about, I'm having more fun as an artist right now than I am not being an artist. If I think of myself just as a guitar shredder and I'm just playing in a room and I'm disconnected from the art of it and the context of it. I have more fun interacting. In fact, I'm having more fun thinking of it as art itself. And if the art needs a fast solo, then that's great. If it doesn't, then that's what the art comes first. I'm an artist first. I'm a guitar player to serve the artistry. Like the painter doesn't. A painter isn't a sculptor. A sculptor isn't a knifer just for its own sake. He uses the knife to sculpt the painting, to sculpt what he sees in his mind to sculpt. The sculpting comes first, not just sticking with the knife for its own sake. The knife is just to cut the rock to make the sculpture that the sculptor sees. So I'm beginning to think of my guitar that way. My guitar is like my hammer, the mediator says. But what am I hammering? Am I hammering a library, or am I hammering for a I don't know. There's things I can do with that hammer, not just hammering sake or hammering nothing, just to see how I make sure I can still hammer. It's a good metaphor that we came up with. I like that. So anyway, I just thought I'd give you guys an update. I go through this every winter where I don't like winter, and when I come out of it, it's like I'm coming out of a cocoon. But to come out of a cocoon, you have to be in the cocoon, and that means being absent a little bit. And I was kind of absent last night because I was getting like 10 or 11 hours sleep. I needed that just to get just shake off the winter. You think sleeping would make me not shake it off, because isn't that what you do in the winter? But actually, sleeping through it actually let me adjust to it. I just couldn't do it while I was just awake. When I'm awake, I had to go back to sleep and let my body and spirit process the new season. So I love you guys. Keep loving rock and roll.